Why does Shiva cover his body with ash? In Hinduism, ash, vibhuti or bhasma, is a symbol of purity, detachment, and renunciation. It represents the transient nature of life and the ultimate truth that everything in the material world is perishable. Ash is considered sacred and is often used in religious rituals and as a mark on the forehead. It symbolizes the burning away of ignorance and the impurities of the physical world, leaving behind only the pure essence of the soul. Lord Shiva, one of the principal deities of Hinduism, is often depicted with his body smeared with ash. He is known as Mahadeva, the great god, and embodies the aspects of creation, destruction, and regeneration. Shiva is the ultimate ascetic, living on Mount Kailash, away from the material world in deep meditation. His portrayal with ash on his body is deeply symbolic and rich with meanings that reflect his transcendence over the material world and his connection to the ultimate truth. Shiva's ash-covered body represents his detachment from the material world. The ash signifies the end of all material things. After death, everything returns to the earth as dust. By covering himself with ash, Shiva demonstrates his renunciation of worldly desires and his acceptance of the ultimate truth that all things are temporary. This act symbolizes his role as a yogi and ascetic who has conquered the physical world and transcended the cycle of birth and death. One of the most famous stories associated with Lord Shiva and ash is the story of Sati, Shiva's first consort, who immolated herself in the sacrificial fire of her father, Daksha's yajna. Unable to bear the insult to her husband by her father, Sati chose to end her life. Devastated by her death, Shiva carried her burnt body across the universe, mourning her loss. In his grief, he smeared his body with the ashes of Sati, symbolizing the end of all desires and attachments. This story highlights the deep connection between Shiva and the concept of ash as a symbol of detachment, loss, and transcendence. By smearing himself with Sati's ashes, Shiva demonstrates the ultimate act of renunciation, turning away from the material world and embracing the spiritual. The story of Bhasmasura also provides insight into the significance of ash in relation to Shiva. Bhasmasura was a demon who, after receiving a boon from Lord Shiva, misused it and threatened to destroy everything by turning anything he touched into ash. The name Bhasmasura literally means the demon of ash. Shiva, realizing the danger of the boon, eventually tricked Bhasmasura into turning himself into ash. This story not only reinforces the concept of ash as a powerful and destructive force, but also as a symbol of Shiva's ability to control and neutralize destructive energies. The ash that covers Shiva's body can be seen as a representation of his victory over Bhasmasura and, more broadly, over the destructive forces of the universe. As the god of destruction, Shiva's association with ash is also linked to his role in the cosmic cycle of creation, preservation, and destruction. Destruction is not seen as a negative force in Hinduism. Rather, it is a necessary part of the cycle of life. Destruction paves the way for new creation, and in this sense, Shiva's ash-covered body is a reminder of the cyclical nature of the universe. The ash signifies the end of one cycle and the beginning of another. By covering himself with ash, Shiva embodies the principle of destruction as a form of purification, clearing the way for new growth. This aspect of Shiva's character is central to his identity as the destroyer and regenerator of the universe. In the yogic tradition, ash is also a symbol of spiritual enlightenment and liberation. Yogis and ascetics often cover their bodies with ash to signify their renunciation of the material world and their focus on the spiritual path. This practice is rooted in the belief that the body, being temporary, is not the true self. The ash, representing the end of the physical form, reminds the yogi of the impermanence of the body and the eternal nature of the soul. Shiva, as the ultimate yogi, embodies these principles. His ash-covered body is a symbol of his spiritual enlightenment and his transcendence of the physical realm. It signifies his connection to the eternal, unchanging reality beyond the material world. The image of Lord Shiva covered in ash is a powerful symbol in Hinduism, rich with layers of meaning. It represents his detachment from the material world, his role as the destroyer and regenerator, and his embodiment of spiritual enlightenment. The stories and myths associated with Shiva and ash reinforce these themes, illustrating the depth of his character and his significance in the Hindu pantheon. In summary, the ash on Shiva's body is more than just a physical covering. It is a representation of his mastery over the material world, his role in the cosmic cycle, and his ultimate spiritual wisdom. It serves as a reminder of the impermanence of life, the inevitability of death, and the eternal nature of the soul.